What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys today. And what we're going to be looking at is the 11 players that we sent out on loan this season. We sent out a couple in January as well. We'll be touching on them as well. But yeah, 11 loan spells, not all the most successful loans. We'll get into them one by one, starting off with Harry Winks, who spent the season at Sampdoria, got relegated with Sampdoria, made 19 starts, 1 sub appearance and 2 appearances as an unused sub. I mean, it was a weird one with Harry Winks because he had his injury problems, didn't he, going into that Sampdoria loan. The first 16 game weeks, he didn't see 1 minute of football, all plagued by injury. But once he got into that team, it was kind of like no looking back for Harry Winks. I know it was a terrible season for Sampdoria, but on a personal note, it was probably his best season in a while.
Yeah, in terms of consistent performances, every game seemed to be another new Harry Winks compilation circling on social media about his impressive displays. They called him the washing machine, didn't they, out in Sampdoria, for his ability to recycle possession, which was fairly impressive. And to be fair, I think that's probably the main goal for Winks, because he's struggled with injuries for so long. He hasn't been able to get a consistent run of games, first of all due to his performance, but also due to injuries. He just hasn't been able to stay fit. And this season looked like it was going to be another season for him where another year lost essentially due to injury after the first 6 months. But I think in terms of his goal for this season, it's just about getting his consistency, his rhythm and match fitness back, and to maybe that could help him put him back on the market this summer for other clubs to maybe think about signing him, because now he has been fit for a fairly decent stretch of games, 20 games, and his performance level is also at a decent level. So maybe this could be his first step to getting his career back on track. I don't think it'll be with Tottenham, but maybe with someone else.
Yeah, and do you think like maybe another team in Italy, maybe another team looking for mid-table, maybe a bit below, will take another punt on him?
Potentially, I think he could suit Italian football. He's already shown with Sampdoria that he can put in decent displays out in Italy. I've got a feeling that he might go to the Championship. That's what I would do if I was him.
Make way for Maddison. Yeah,
maybe. That would be a good move for us. I think Leicester's a good club for him to go to. And I don't think he should scoff at going to the Championship, even though it's a step down essentially for him. But I think he should see it as an opportunity to prove himself, reinvigorate his career and join a team he believes can get immediately promoted, and then I think you can start seeing the life in his career come back.
Let's hope so, because as much as we don't want to see him in the Spurs shirt, I think we want to see him do well, Tottenham boy, and it just hasn't worked out for him for many different reasons. But let's move on. Let's talk about Troy Parrott. He got a loan spell to Preston, another kind of not such a great loan spell for Troy once again, to be honest. 22 starts, 12 appearances off the bench, 4 goals, 0 assists. What do you make out of this loan spell for Parrott? Because this was kind of the loan spell which we all thought last summer. He gets this loan spell and really he'll come back to Tottenham and fight for a first team spot next season. I don't think he done that.
No, I don't think he does. I don't think he fights for a first team spot. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Ange thinks of him. I think, as I just read, that apparently he's set to join the first team on a pre-season tour. So I think that'll be interesting to see Ange what he thinks of him firsthand. Obviously, we've seen firsthand that just because you don't have an amazing loan spell doesn't mean that you can't make it. Our best ever striker didn't have some amazing loan spells, and look at him now. But whenever he seems to have gone to the Championship, it just seems to step too far every time. Albeit, he did start the season very well. I remember speaking to a Preston fan earlier in the season. They were very happy with how he started life. He had a goal or so to his name. But then maybe it seems as though he hasn't really got the physique at the moment to play that number 9 role, which he wants to play so much. Albeit, he does seem to get minutes for Ireland. He does seem to get starts at national level. So that's not to be scoffed at as well. And he has scored a couple of goals for Ireland as well. But week in, week out, consistently, he doesn't seem to be getting those regular goal contributions which you associate with a player who's ready for the Premier League at that kind of level. They do sometimes stick him behind the striker. They sometimes stick him out wide. He hasn't quite found a home at number 9, and maybe it's just due to his physicality at a young age. But then again, he is 21 now. He's not a teenager anymore, and it's this kind of age you have to start showing that you're ready to make the step up, and he just hasn't shown that.
Yeah, do you feel like another loan spell would be viable for him, or is it just a case of maybe if Ange isn't impressed in pre-season, then just getting rid?
I think when it comes to strikers, look, if he does have another loan spell and maybe starts to explode, then I think all of a sudden that's like a gold mine. But obviously it depends on Ange. But I would consider another loan to a championship team just to see, because you've got to remember Preston themselves struggled to score goals all season. I remember they had a long stretch at the beginning of the season where they were just drawing 0-0, 0-0, winning 1-0. So maybe, maybe it was to do with, part of it was to do with the team he was in. So I would like to see him maybe in a bit more an attacking team. Maybe that would help him. But if Ange isn't impressed, but you got to remember at 21, he's still, to get minutes for Ireland. I know Ireland aren't the best national team, but still, it's still something to say.
It is something to say, but I mean, like, who's his real competition there for Ireland? Is there much competition there starting for Ireland? I mean, they don't even qualify for anything. I mean, it's impressive for someone with not many professional minutes, especially at the top level, to get a few starts. But even recently, he's come out the team a bit for Ireland. But I don't know. It's not the greatest national team. Let's
definitely not.
Put it that
Definitely
way.
Not.
Let's move on. Let's talk about Dane Scarlett. This is one that we're really excited to see how it developed during the season. Considered the star boy of the Tottenham Academy. He went to Portsmouth, 24 starts, 16 games as a substitute appearance, 6 goals and 2 assists in his time at Portsmouth. He started life really well at Portsmouth under Danny Cowley, and in the first half of the season, there was some really good plaudits coming his way. Danny Cowley was in love with him. But the manager got sacked. Second half of the season, he really failed to see many starts and many minutes. Yeah,
and again, similar to Parrott, that he was shunted out wide quite a bit as well, because again, it felt like he didn't quite have the strength or the physicality to compete with big, strong centre backs at his kind of age. But 6 goals. I know it's League Two, but he still.
It's all competitions so a few in the cup as well.
A few in the cup. He still did fairly well, and again, the fans seem to like him. He seemed to have a really good mentality in terms of how hard he worked. He's a couple years younger than Troy Parrott, so he's got a few more years to develop to get to that level. I think another loan deal is definitely in the offing for Scarlett. I don't think he's quite ready for top level football just yet, but I definitely think this season's probably overall been a success, I'd argue, for his age.
Yeah, do you think that he stays in League One or goes up to the Championship for next season?
I'll probably say stay in the same league. Is it League One or League Two?
Portsmouth, League One.
League One. So probably stay where he is for now, I would say, and then see if he can really push on in that league. Because wouldn't suggest he's definitely ready for the Championship.
It's just such a shame, isn't it? Because you never know how that second half of the season would have gone if the same manager would have stayed on, because it was a manager that really believed in him, wasn't it? And, he gets sacked, another manager comes in and he hardly sees any minutes, which must have been really frustrating for him. But I guess, in some cases, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Yeah, I think so. And you've got to remember, he's still so young, and I think it's all a learning curve. And I think making that break from development to competitive league football is a big jump. And I think he didn't do badly this season for a player of his age.
All right, let's move on to Tanguy Ndombele at Napoli. Comes home with the Serie A winners medal. 12 starts in his season at Napoli. 28 appearances off the bench. 7 as an unused sub. 2 goals. 1 assist in all competition. I mean, he was mostly used at 10 minutes, 20 minutes towards the end of games. But he does come back with a winner's medal. He, where did they get? Quarterfinals in the Champions League as well for Napoli, going out to AC Milan. So, I mean, look, the team was a very successful team this season, but how successful was this loan spell?
Obviously, considering that he wasn't a regular starter, for a player of his ability, that's what you're looking for a loan spell like this. So I don't think it's gone particularly great. I wouldn't say it's been a complete disaster. I think he clearly, the amount of times he was picked to play, he wasn't completely untrusted. Only 7 times he wasn't used at all throughout the whole season. So that, to me, says that at least he was trusted to get minutes on the pitch. You got to remember, Napoli especially early on in the season, they were winning games, not just winning, but they were winning by big margins, and they were completely destroying teams. So when it gets to that, it's going to be hard for him to break into that team when they're being so well. Why would they ever change it? Why would they put him in when they've got such a successful winning formula, essentially? So I understand that. When he did get minutes, a lot of the times it was in the cups against lower league teams, which he obviously it seemed like it was like too easy for him at times. He did start that one of the Champions League games against AC Milan. I remember watching that game, and for an hour he was brilliant, and then for the AC Milan goal, I wouldn't say it was his fault, but he did give the ball away, and they ended up scoring from that break. I don't know if that was in the manager's mind, but it was a big moment for him to really stamp himself in the Napoli team, and he didn't quite take it as much as he would have hoped, even though he did have a good game for large parts. For his cameos, from what I've seen, he did seem to have pretty good cameos, and he did seem to really light the place up for the time he was on. But again, he was never really trusted on a consistent basis to start games. I don't think it's been a disaster, but it hasn't been a loan spell to tell you, yeah, he's ready to come back and be a star at Tottenham.
Yeah, and also it's not a loan spell which kind of convinced Napoli that they want to keep him for the long term as well. So, I mean, I think it's the same old with Ndombele. Can't get on the pitch for long enough. And look, I think there were some cameos where he did kind of like light up the place that you say, but there were also other cameos which did flatter to deceive, like we know Tanguy and Ndombele can. But let's move on and let's talk about Giovani Celso at Villarreal. 16 starts, 13 appearances off the bench, 2 as an unused sub, the rest missed through injury, 2 goals, 3 assists. He missed from game week 9 to 23, all through injury again. So that those injury problems following Giovani Lo Celso around once again.
And that's the big issue with him. It's always been his injury problems. I think we all know there's a good player there, especially when he's playing consistently. We all know he's got quality, he's got versatility. But the big problem is he has injuries, and then those injuries disrupt his rhythm, and then it takes him a bit of time to get back to his best from these injuries. And a lot of the times, as soon as he's hit that moment where he's getting back to it, he gets another injury. And that's always been a top problem that's plagued his time at Tottenham. There's always been a problem that's plagued his time at Tottenham, and that seems to be not changing at Villarreal, sad to say. As much as I believe he's a player who, when fully fit and fully on his game, could probably play under Postecoglou, I just don't think it's worth having him around when you constantly have to think about these injury problems. And I think he's the typical injury-prone kind of player at this point. Yeah,
I completely agree. And like I actually believe in Lo Celso's talents. I think he's a really good player, but I just don't think I don't think you can get him on the pitch as often as you can. It's just a waste of a spot in a squad, essentially. So I think Lo Celso is probably going to come back and probably going to try and sell him. And with the likes of Unai Emery, who's worked with him at several clubs, I think you can probably get a bit of money for him. Definitely not the money that we paid for him, but you're looking at maybe less than half of what we paid for him. We're looking to get back like 15, 20 million, something around that mark. So that's Giovani Lo Celso. Next up is Sergio Reguilon at Atletico Madrid. Now, this was a season to forget for Sergio Reguilon. 2 starts, 10 as a sub, and 14 as an unused sub. I mean, a season completely plagued by injury for Sergio Reguilon. His most consistent times on the pitch were actually the last 5 games of the season. He started to see some minutes, started to see a couple of starts. But, I mean, for the whole season, he basically couldn't get on the pitch.
Yeah, which is pretty much a disaster. It couldn't have gone much worse for him and for us as well if we're looking for anyone to buy in, which is interesting because I don't remember injuries being a massive problem when he was at Tottenham. I know maybe in the latter part of his Spurs career, he had a few injury problems, but I don't remember throughout his Tottenham career him being completely unavailable for large swaths of the season. So that's a big blow for him, especially a big move to a big club like Atletico Madrid. You're convincing them that especially, he's been successful before in La Liga and at Sevilla, so he's convincing them that he's still that same player that was one of those sought after left backs in European football at one time, and to miss pretty much essentially the whole season pretty much through injury, and then when he is fit, doesn't seem to be trusted to be picked as well. Must be a big blow for him, and I'm not sure what we do with him this summer. Whether Postecoglou takes a look at him and thinks there's something I can do with him and at left back, because we do need another left back, so maybe it's worth keeping him around. But because I think things have changed now in terms of his position. I think at Tottenham, beforehand, he just was never going to be suited to that left wing back spot, which Conte was asking him to do. But now Postecoglou's in. Look, could he be a good inverted fullback? I don't know, but that's the thing. I don't know. It's not necessarily a no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not convinced. And I mean, this season has just been such a horror season. Hopefully it's kind of like a one-off with the injuries, and hopefully he doesn't have any long-term effects with the injuries. But I mean, I don't know. I think Reguilon probably could be an asset for Ange Postecoglou. It's up to him to decide, obviously. But I mean, I wouldn't count my chickens just yet with Sergio Reguilon, and I just hope these injury problems don't follow him around now, because to be injured for that long is it takes how do you recover from that? It's going to take a big recovery to do that.
Yeah, but as you say, the last few games of the season, he did get back into the team and get minutes, so maybe he's on his road back to recovery. When it comes to there are some players who were just so determined to get out the door that will there's even rumours of cancelling contracts and things like that. Do you think we should be cancelling someone like Reguilon's contract, or would you rather just have him back up left back?
Probably just have him back up left back. I think the quality of the player is good enough just to come in as a backup. I think he's better than someone like Ryan Sessegnon in the squad. So if it's a case of ripping up the contract or keeping him as backup left back, I would keep him as backup left back, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a player not so long ago was starting for Spain, or was in the Spain squad, was after Man United were after him. It seemed like a coup when we got him.
Yeah.
And he started his life at Tottenham well as well. So I would like to see him maybe get another chance, but he needs to get over these injury issues.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about Joe Rodon. He was on loan at Rennes, started 22 games, an unused sub for 21 games, and 1 goal to his name. And it was a weird one with Rodon, because he made a really good start at Rennes. He was in the team, he was starting every game, week in, week out. He got sent off in a game, and then he just couldn't seem to get his place back after that. He was out for I think 2 games suspended. And then after that, he was just a sub. Week in, week out, sub. And then he got his place back. 5 games in a row he played. And then after that, again, he got dropped and couldn't get back in the team.
Sounds like his time at Tottenham.
Yeah, pretty much.
Under Mourinho, I remember, it's quite similar.
Yeah.
For me, in terms of his loan spell, it's a shame that he wasn't able to consistently keep his place, because you assume going out on loan, especially when he was supposed to be a highly thought of championship defender when we signed him. We understand he maybe quite wasn't ready for to be a regular starter in Premier League when we did get him, which is why he wasn't so trusted under Mourinho. Under Conte as well, he never got a look in at all. I think he played 1 game against in the Cup against Morecambe, and that was it pretty much. Maybe some Conference League games as well. So when he went off to Rennes, it was kind of intriguing to see how he would do. And maybe at the start you're thinking, okay, maybe there is a defender here, but the way it's gone and the way it's ended as well doesn't tell me that he's going to be able to be starting week in, week out for Tottenham next season. And as well, in terms of his profile, he is big, he's a tall defender, he's okay on the ball. I don't think he's anything great on the ball. And then his pace-wise, he's not particularly slow, but he's not the quickest either. So I think it's best to just sell him to a championship team, let him get regular minutes, because he's stagnated so badly since he's come to Spurs. Yeah. Not got any regular minutes anywhere. He's been shipped out here, there, and to Rennes, and not got any minutes under the managers who are here. So I feel like it's best for him to just leave. And I don't think another loan deal will suit anyone. I don't think he's going to be starting. I don't think it will suit him being on the bench. So I think he needs a permanent move.
Thing is, we've seen him have good displays for Wales in tournaments as well against good opposition. So I kind of think maybe he can do it in the Premier League, but not at a team like Spurs, fighting for European places and stuff like that. I feel like maybe to go to a team that have just come up from the Championship, someone like Luton, or maybe even just drop down back to the Championship, go back to Swansea, where they'll really appreciate him there. So I think maybe a top-end Championship team or a lower-end Premier League team is probably where his talent's at.
Yeah, I think so.
Next up, let's talk about Destiny Udogie now. We haven't seen him in a Spurs shirt yet, but very much excited to see him. We loaned him straight back to Udinese when we signed him last summer. 31 starts, 2 from the bench, 3 goals, 4 assists. He's been very much a key player for Udinese once again this season, and I think he might have got Udinese's Player of the Year again. But look, another storming season for Destiny Udogie, and I can't wait to see him in a Spurs shirt.
Yeah, I couldn't be more excited to see him running down the left-hand side, especially especially with what we've been missing down that side as well, like proper pace, real ability to take people on, cover a lot of ground. Get goal contributions as well, which he's been getting in Serie A. And as well, he's still so young. He's still 20 years of age. He's still got a lot of developing to do. And I think Ange is going to really be licking his lips at the prospect of him joining the team. And he's one who we all believe is going to be coming straight into the first team. And I think he's hopefully going to add a new dimension to that side.
Yeah, I really believe so. And look, he's going to come in as our starting left back, and he has 2 really good seasons now, maybe even 3 at Udinese and Italy. What attacking talent he is, the numbers he pulls up with goals and assists as well. I just hope it doesn't take too much of a bedding in period to get used to the Premier League, but I'm very much excited to see him for sure next season. Next up is Harvey White at Derby in League One. Only 5 starts, 10 from the bench, 4 as an unused sub. He's 22 years of age, only got 1 year left in his contract now. I mean, where do we go now with Harvey White? Because there was such high hopes for him a couple of years ago. He was starting to creep into the team. I mean, I think he played in the Premier League this year for us, didn't he? Before we loaned him out at that game away against Crystal Palace. He came on towards the end and had a bright cameo. But I don't know. He can't seem to hold down a first team spot at Derby in League One.
Yeah, I think we have to sell him, to be honest. As much as he's always threatened to be in and around the first team, he's never quite made that step up of being either regularly involved in match day squads or even getting regular cameos or anything like that, and he's never progressed beyond that. His loan spells have never gone particularly well. I think he's had one at Ipswich as well. Was it Ipswich or Portsmouth or both, maybe?
I think, was it Portsmouth, I think?
Maybe it was Portsmouth. And then obviously this Derby one, I mean, only 5 appearances is really disappointing. Albeit, I remember watching a compilation of him early on at Derby. And
I think that was his debut.
Yeah, maybe it was his debut. He seemed to have a good debut, but didn't seem to kick on from that. With 1 year left on his deal and at 22 years of age, there's nothing to suggest he's going to make that step up. I think if we can get $1 million, I think that's
not even. You don't even need to get $1 million from him. Just wish him well on his development and let him go to a club of his choice. Really, in my opinion. But look, at 22, it's unbelievable to think that he's only a year younger than Dejan Kulusevski.
Yeah,
and he's older than the likes of Troy Parrott and all these other Destiny Udogie and all these players that we're looking to get in our first team.
Yeah, look at Skip. That's probably the same age as Skip, isn't he? And look at the difference in how much football they've played and things like that. So I think that says it all.
All right, let's talk about Bryan Gil next. Another one that's coming home with a winner's medal, this time for the Europa League. He made 16 starts. By the way, he went on loan in January. He made 16 starts. He was subbed on 6 times, unused sub 4 times, 2 goals and 3 assists. He was actually quite pivotal to the Europa League run, Bryan Gil. He played in every single knockout game, bar 2 of them. And he was taken off at half-time in the final. But I think it was a fairly successful loan spell for Bryan Gil.
I think so. And the difference I found from this one to the Valencia one is the Valencia loan spell, he seemed to get into the team straight away and he seemed to fall off a bit near the end and they stopped playing him quite a bit and maybe he fell out of favour. But this one, he seemed to, when he started at Sevilla, he was maybe on the bench, but then he grew in influence and he grew in how much they trusted him. And all of a sudden he was starting all the important games and he started to be a consistent fixture in their starting 11. And as you say, he started all the knockout rounds, including the final as well of the Europa League. So became one of their more trusted members of their team. So that tells me that they were really, really impressed with how he was developing. And that's really good. And as well, he got an assist in the semi-final as well for the winner to get them to the final. He had
Lamela, right?
For Lamela, he had a pretty good final, I think, from what I saw.
Well, he got taken off at half-time.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, I think I remember I was watching bits of the game. He seems to be doing well, but I wasn't watching the whole game. But look, I'm pretty happy with how his loan spell's gone at Sevilla, and I think as well, couple that with the fact that he was actually starting to play well for Tottenham just before that loan spell as well. Maybe I think it's worth just keeping him around in the first team for next season. If we're going to be looking for a right winger to sign, you might as well keep Bryan Gil around and see if you can develop him rather than spending another 20-30 million on another young player who you're hoping can develop.
I always feel for Bryan Gil because he always seems to be like the last thought of this football club. Like, gets his moves on the last minute of the last day of every window whenever we loan him out, and always, I don't think we've kind of helped his development to come into English football and really be a good player here. And I think that now Ange is here and his belief in youth and his belief in a high pressing system and everything like that, I really believe he can kickstart his Spurs career from this summer.
I agree.
Next up, and last but not least, let's talk about Djed Spence, who also went to Rennes along with Joe Rodon. He left in January as well. 9 starts, including 2 Europa League games. He was subbed on once, an unused sub 3 times, 0 goals or assists for Rennes. But what's interesting for Djed Spence is that he made all his starts in consecutive games when he first joined. Then he was dropped for 3 or 4 games after that, and then basically missed the rest of the season due to injury. So, I mean, it started off okay. I don't think the performances were anything to write home about. I think he had a few good attacking performances early on. There were a lot of critics about his defensive work in the early parts of his time at Rennes, but only 9 games to go on, really. But then missed a large chunk towards the end.
Yeah, which is a shame. He was actually brought in pretty much to replace an already injured player as well. So he looked like he was pretty much going to be playing for a lot of the season. Then he got injured himself, which is a shame. But I remember early on, he seemed maybe very hungry to show what he was showing, to prove himself, prove to maybe Conte, who hadn't been playing him at all, that he was worthy of some minutes. And I think maybe his attacking displays and his ability to take people on that he showed in France, especially in big games like against PSG. I remember he played a very good game early on. He was showing some really good ability to take people on and dribbling and speed. But unfortunately, he also displayed probably the reason Conte didn't pick him is his ability to defend it. He was just so really poor off the ball, to be honest. He was very easily beaten dribbling wise. Wingers were kind of confident in taking him on. He wasn't able to put really good tackles in. He looked fairly weak as well off the ball. So those are definitely things he has to work on. Obviously, he didn't have enough games to maybe work on that due to injury and stuff like that. But at least that attacking side of his game, which we bought him for, to be honest, did seem to be still there, and he's still very, very young as well. So he's still got time on his side, and it'll be interesting to see what Ange does with him next season.
Yeah, and his last start for Rennes was actually a 2-0 win away at PSG. So he was very much involved in locking down Mbappe on that side. So, good experience there for him, that's for sure. But look, that is our loan review. 11 players we sent out on loan. I think out of all those 11 players, the only ones I can see really knuckling down at Spurs next season is probably Bryan Gil, Destiny Udogie, and that's probably it, to be honest. There's question marks over. Maybe Spence. I think Bryan Gil and Destiny Udogie are my front runners, and then Spence and Ndombele, you'll have question marks over them.
Yeah, I think potentially Reguilon as well. Potentially Reguilon.
Yeah, Reguilon probably another one with a question mark.
But the others, I don't see. I not necessarily think they're going to sell all of them, but I don't think any of the others are definitely going to be part of the first team next season.
Yeah, I think Winks, he'll be gone next season. You won't see him in a Spurs shirt again. Parrott and Scarlett, I'd like to see get another loan. Ndombele, we've spoken about. Celso, I'll just probably get sold. Reguilon, we spoke about. Rodon needs to get sold. Harvey White needs to get sold, and the rest we've spoken about. So that is your Loan Watch review. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts about all the players that were out on loan this season. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.